Howdy, Poppets. Editing Sara here. Little snag this week. We lost Josh's audio, so I had to use the backup audio, and you'll hear more background noises than you usually do. Sorry about that. Hey, at least I didn't lose the video this time. Enjoy the show. Hey guys, so a thing happened.
What happened, Sara? Tell us what
Today
happened.
we hit a certain number of subscribers.
Ooh, what did we hit?
It was 69.
It was 69.
Yes! Yes! Josh, that look is appropriate.
Muppets, sex, trauma, yeah. No, I get it.
69. Woo! We did it, fam. That's it. We're done. We don't have to do anymore. Just, that's it. That is the pinnacle.
Hi, friends.
Hello, Poppets.
Howdy, y'all.
And welcome to Muppets, Sex, and Trauma. I'm Sara Ezzat. I make the Costume Codex videos.
I'm Jack Kramme, editor / right-hand man for Passion of the Nerd, editor for Chipperish Media, and co-host of podcast of the Nerds.
And I'm Josh Gosdin, and you know what? I'm just a big old nerd.
And that's enough.
Right.
And we're here today to talk about the episode Till the Blood Runs Clear. Till the Blood Runs Clear, written by Douglas Hayes Jr., directed by Tony Tilsey. John has found a star with some interesting solar flare activity. He and Aaron are investigating in his prowler when, sure enough, a wormhole appears. John nearly flies straight into it without even thinking of Aaron.
It looks unstable.
The wormhole damages his module, and he can't bring it back on Moya for fear it might hurt her baby. Luckily, there is a mechanic on the planet, and we get to meet Furlow. And folks, there's a fat woman on TV. I am so happy. She's pretty sure she can fix it. It might take a little while. On Moya, Dargo is impatient and annoyed at John wasting everyone's time for his module. Zhan doesn't consider any time near this star to be a waste. The effect of the flares has a very specific effect on Delvians.
It's called a photogasm.
Ugh, I'll get a mop and bucket.
Bring a bucket and a mop.
Hey, what a pansexual blue girl does in the privacy of her own, shared command deck is her own business. Aaron and John are kicking their heels on the planet, having a much-needed conversation about not flying into wormholes without your co-pilot's consent. When they are interrupted by a peacekeeper beacon offering a reward to anyone who captures 3 escaped prisoners, Dargo, Zhan, and Rigel.
No, I'm not there. Grace wants to kill me himself, aren't you?
Oh, I think I might have an answer.
They go to turn off the beacon when they meet a pair of bounty hunters who are portrayed as rather animalistic, and yeah, we'll talk about that. John decides the best way to deal with the hunters is to pretend to be one himself and try to play alpha male.
I'm Butch.
It's problematic, but he's having fun, and Aaron's eye rolls are pretty much audible. The ruse is going pretty well, all things considered, until Dargo decides to come down to the planet. Cue some cool music, and Dargo getting captured once again. How many times is that? The bounty hunters want to torture Dargo. John tries to stop them, but they cut him, and John has to keep hurting him till the blood runs clear. Because Luxon, and also title drop. Aaron has been fiddling with the beacon and finds a message for her from Grace, offering her honorable retirement if she turns in the others. And it gives her a moment's pause. Zhan goes to the planet to try and talk everyone into leaving, and the hunters go off to find her. She gets a bit distracted, and hey, what a pansexual blue girl does in the desert, and so forth.
From the top, make it drop.
While the hunters are gone, Dargo breaks free, and he and John have a confrontation. They're like a pair of dogs snapping at each other. They work out some stuff and decide,
We're never going to be friends.
sure, Zhan, but they can be allies.
Warriors on Earth did this to show that they weren't holding weapons.
Which is good, because they're about to be attacked. Look, John, if you call yourself Butch and Sundance, Bolivia is going to come to you. While all this other stuff is going on, Aaron had a brief fight with another bounty hunter. She got a face full of solar flare and was blinded. Her sight should come back.
Sure. 60% chance of recovery. 70, 80 even.
But in the meantime, she's struggling. But even coping with blindness, Erin is a badass. She walks straight into the fray, puts down the beacon, and saves the day.
The reward offer for the fugitives has been officially withdrawn.
She's reprogrammed it to say the fugitives are worthless.
And is there any point in continuing this?
The bounty hunters see no point in continuing. Now that it's over, John wants to get back to his solar flare research, but Zhan arrives to say the flares are gone. According to Furlow, they won't be back for 5 years. Okay, that's everything. Time to go. Well, oh wait, we gotta settle the bill with Furlow for the model and fixing the beacon.
You need any food cubes?
Nope. What she wants is his wormhole data. Give up the data or stay here and work on it with her. But he can't stay. None of them can stay. So goodbye, data.
I can start from scratch.
So thoughts?
This episode, some good moments, but like compared to other episodes, this one's sort of middle of the road for me, I think.
Yeah, I was just whelmed. Also, wasn't overwhelmed, wasn't underwhelmed. Like I didn't hate it or anything, and I didn't have anything that made me like, blow my stack or wave my arms around like an actual Muppet or anything. I really enjoyed certain aspects of the production. I really liked the location.
Yeah,
and anytime that I get to see Erin duke it out with somebody, that's a good show for me. Like I'm set. I don't need much else.
I'm mixed. There are things I love about this episode and things that I really don't love about this episode, and it's kind of there are some really good things, and there's one thing that really bugs me.
Okay, well, shall we start with that?
Shall we start with that? Okay.
Let's start with that.
I understand the thought process here. We have a story about alpha and about dogs and sort of like the guys are trying to work out their thing. Mm-hmm. I understand, like, we're doing a whole masculinity thing, and that's great. So we want to play in a bit of a Western space. So we think about doing Westerns, and we get to the idea of having cowboys and Indians. And we mix that with the whole alpha dogs thing, and what we have is people who are coded who are definitely coded as indigenous stereotypes, and also extremely animalistic and primitive. And it's just no. And it's largely a costume thing, because they sort of the costumes are so obviously coded indigenous. If they made them more cowboy-like, then it would have gone with that cowboy thing. But yeah, this is what, when my whole thing about dressing the other with costuming. This is when it's not it's not code of honor.
Nothing is.
Because nothing is code of honor, but it is kind of treading into that space of, this is not how we present a group of people that is not us. And I feel like that's and it's not at all intentional. I mean, most of the people involved in this were in Australia, so that's they're reflecting on Western films, not on actual Indigenous people. But as a person who knows actual Indigenous people, ooh, this is not a good look.
Okay, I didn't read it that way. I'm not saying I disagree with you, of course. Like, I think you're all right, but I thought there was something very like Klingon about Rolf and Rog, and that's sort of what I thought they were going for. Like,
calls them Worf.
yeah. There was even like the Worf thing. So I thought, oh yeah, they're doing a Klingon thing. Cool. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's when you add in the costume elements, like the beadwork and the stuff like that. Then it's sort of like, oh no, don't do that. Don't do that.
No, the indigenous coding went completely over my head.
Same.
Also, I didn't catch any of that. I'm a little leery about the makeup trend that they seem to have picked up on about bronzing or reddening their actors, but mostly it has been fanciful enough not to tread into like brown face or red face territory from my perspective so far. And even the costuming, I wasn't getting indigenous. I was getting Mos Eisley. So we all got different things. You got Klingons, you got indigenous problematicism, and I got Mos Eisley Cantina.
Well, there's a podcast I've listened to on occasion called Métis in Space, hosted by some indigenous women who look at sort of indigenous-like coding in particularly in sci-fi. Their episode on the Buffy episode Pangs is important to listen to, and they did one on this because they picked it up immediately.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Wow.
It's like, oh, there's some coding here that just no. Yeah.
Making me want to go back and rewatch it then and pay better attention. I was really hung up on the dick off that was going on between Butch, Crichton, and the Worf, but that makes me want to rewatch the episode then, because it absolutely went over my head. I didn't catch any native coding.
Yeah, like I said, I thought they were just doing a Klingon thing, but I liked that. I loved how hard they lent into the Western theme. Like, I picked up on that straight away, and I love how they really went with that. And there's the line, it's Crichton, I think he says, because that bounty belongs to me, and then we get this like Western music that's like straight out of like Walker Texas Ranger or something. Such a fun moment, and
the music in this one is great.
Yeah. I think that like when you do something like this, it just go with it, go like whole hog and go for it, and they really did, and I appreciate that.
So where do we want to start? Should we start with John?
John.
You mean
sorry, I must look at my
Butch.
Yeah, Butch.
Butch Crichton, yes.
Thought your name was Butch Crichton. That was one of my favorite lines.
I liked Crichton through all of this. I love how he protects Dargo when Roth wants to cut him up and torture him and all of that stuff. And I love how he uses actual Luxon biology with the blood running clear thing. That was really cool. A nice cool callback there. I think that was thrown for a loss, wasn't it? I think. Yeah. But something about so that scene with Crichton and Dargo when they're doing the whole like we're never gonna be friends thing.
Sure, Jan.
Look, he says this isn't going to work, is it? We're never going to be friends. And I like the drama of the scene, and it's very well acted. And I get what they're going for. Like, they're showing us that Crichton and Dargo can find a middle ground, even though they're not friends, and that they can perhaps like respect each other. And I do like that they use that to fight their way off of the planet. And I love the sentiment when Dargo says, "I will not abandon you in battle," but I hate the whole thing because it comes across as Crichton and Dargo not being able to be friends because they're big, tough, manly men, alphas with egos, blah, blah, blah. And for me, on a personal level, it's something I hate. It just seems like two dudes waving their giant dicks around, and I don't care for it.
I think that I try not to bring in too much extra textual stuff, but there's a quote from the executive producer about this episode and about the whole metaphor of the blood running clear. Mm-hmm. It's an apt metaphor for this crew. While each carries their own wounds, the question is, will they become toxic, or will they find the emotional trust and psychological pressure allowing the blood to run clear? That's David Kemper on the whole blood running clear thing on trauma. I think we can also say that the other thing that is needing to get pressured out is toxic masculinity.
Yeah. That's what that's sort of how I was reading it too. It just came across as toxic manly nonsense, and I don't care for it.
So I liked it a little bit more because I was trying to stitch all of the themes together a little bit in my head, and I came up with a couple of links between like the title of the episode and the metaphor for Rorf, and that's just so awkward to say. Rorf and Butch versus Zhan and Dargo, and I feel like I'm somewhere in between the two of you and the perspectives you've expressed so far. I hope that that's what they're saying, Sara, about toxic masculinity being the thing that needs to be purged. Because I'm not sure how much of that is borne out in the episode, and how much of it is me hoping and like doing all this theme panhandling and, you know, really trying to sift through everything. Because when you contrast how Butch and Rorf relate to each other versus how Zhan and Dargo initially relate to each other in the episode, and indeed the entire show up until this point, it's the same thing. It's two alphas who are trying to compete with each other. And this episode demonstrates how that isn't a sustainable premise, because of how quickly the foe alliance collapses between, and I keep calling him Butch because it was the persona that he was in, between Butch and Rorf, you know, and Rorf eventually turns on him because it doesn't take, and when strength and fear are the only things holding a group together, it doesn't take much to tip the balance in a different direction. But Zhan and Dargo pushing through that and saying, okay, what if neither of us has to be the big guy? What if we can just be two people together? And you know, teaches them the human handshake and all that kind of good stuff. That was nice, and I hope that's what they're going for, is shoving aside toxic masculinity or beating it out of them. That's what you have to do to make the blood run clear. You have to beat the shit out of the wound. And so far, they've definitely done that with these two. They've definitely beat this wound to death in this series.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really clever idea if that's what they're going for. I really like that. I saw you smile there, Sara.
That is how I read this scene, is that they're finally getting that shit out and open and talking about it. Like finally Zhan goes, look, I am human. And Dargo has to recognize, oh, I forget that you're not a peacekeeper. You look so much like a peacekeeper. You know, which I think follows on from what we saw last time in last episode, when we recognized the effect that has been having on Dargo, is to be reminded of the peacekeepers. And I think he needed to be called on, hey, look, I am not one. I am a human. And, you know, Zhan needed to be called on doing stupid shit like, I am going to go to the wormhole. I do my thing. You know, I'm going to, you know, selfish. Yeah, he needed to be called out on his selfishness. And then the fact that both of them and Aaron have all been trying to lead. They all sort of, you know, the Aaron and John's thing is, you know, they had their confrontation. We'll get to that. But Zhan and Dargo's, you know, confrontation, I felt it as a purge, as like, let's, you know, vomit all our toxic crap at each other.
Yeah.
And then you know, get down on the same level and shake hands. And so as much as it is toxic, it's kind of like, these are things that need to be said out loud. Zhan needs to be told he's being a selfish prick. And Dargo needs to be told that, you know, he's coming after Zhan with a weapon at every opportunity.
I like those readings. I really do. I don't know. For me, I was just watching it and like constantly facepalming because it's just caveman bullshit. It's beating on the chest, and I don't know. I don't care for it at all.
Well, now, other than now, kind of shipping John and Dargo, because John is like, we're not friends. And tell me you don't love me.
You're not friends. You'll never be friends. You'll be in love till it kills you both.
You'll shag, and yeah. That was playing in my head in the scene. No, but aside from that, like, I don't know. I guess if in my experience, this sounds cheesy in my head. At work, it's not a requirement for coworkers to be friends. It's nice, and there's any number of great television shows and wonderful opportunities for closeness and bonding and all that kind of stuff, but it's not a requirement. If you're two people who are moving towards a common goal together, then mutual respect and support and I will never leave you, John Crichton, and all that kind of stuff is good, but isn't necessarily a component of friendship. And so that's the other thing that I was actually kind of like, all right, whenever they were doing that, I was like, you're not friends.
You did that scarily well.
But they came to a mutual understanding. They shook hands. They cooperated. They actually communicated, like they talked through their plan. And for once, Aaron was the one who was flying off half-cocked.
Yeah,
and they won the day, for lack of a better phrase. So I might as much.
I mean, friendship is a kind of love, can be a love story too. So yeah, sometimes you will be friends, but sometimes you won't.
Sometimes you'll fight and you'll shag and you'll hate each other till it makes you quiver.
Love isn't brains, children.
It's blood. Screaming inside to work its will.
The blood runs clear.
Oh my God, there it is. Another topic. Now, this both relates to Crichton and Aaron, so I'm just going to speak about both of them at the same time. But they are both given the opportunity to return home, or the possibility of potentially returning home and going back to their previous lives or whatever. And I love how they are both tempted by it, because of course they are, of course. Crichton wants to go home, and even though Grace tells Aaron that she would basically be pardoned and allowed to return home, I didn't buy it, and we find out in the end that she didn't, because and look, Grace cannot be trusted. And as far as the peacekeepers are concerned, she's a traitor. She's committed treason. Then we get the reveal at the end that Aaron didn't actually believe it, and I really wish they didn't do that, because I think it would have been far more impactful and meaningful if she did believe it, but then chose not to give up her crewmates anyway. Something about it just cheapens it for me, I guess. And with John, he ends up handing over his data to Furlow, and I just feel like he gave it up too easily. Look, I get it. We're in the first season. He ain't going home yet. I get that, but couldn't it have been written a different way? Like the data was incomplete, or still more research needed. I don't know. I liked those ideas of them being tempted to go home, perhaps at the detriment to their crewmates, but at the same time, it just, I don't know, it felt like a good idea that didn't get baked well for me. I don't know.
I don't know. I think if Aaron believed Grace, I'd wonder about if she'd been hit on the head too many times.
True. Because, that's a good point.
And I think the thing is, she does kind of believe him, but she knows what he means. Like he's,
right.
Yeah, he'll give her honorable retirement.
Yeah, which is brain sucky.
Yeah, there's definitely cookie episode-ness to this, cookie dough episode-ness to this one.
I really like that angle. I think I would have preferred that. if she'd believed him and still chosen to stay. Like that was, because then that would have matched John's decision to peel away from the wormhole a little bit more closely. I definitely like that. And I feel like that would have had a little bit more heft. And I think you helped me put my finger on something. There wasn't a lot of bottom to this episode. There wasn't a lot of heft to this episode, like in the teaser, there was a wormhole that opened up, and so it's like, okay, so obviously this isn't going to mean anything. Not mean anything, but mean anything. But yeah, it needed some more bottom. It needed some more baking. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right about that. I do feel like John and Aaron, seeming to turn away from their temptations a little easy, actually fits in with the arc of the series so far, because they've seen what happens when you give into your baser instincts and dive in head first and chop off a friend's arm, like which right. John throws back at Dargo. Whenever Dargo, when Dargo is calling him out on his selfishness, he doesn't really have an arm to stand on, because they mutilated their friend or their coworker.
Yeah. It needed to be said.
Yeah.
One of those things that needed to be gotten out. Now, on the subject of bottoms,
hop on top.
That's a segue.
Power bottom.
So, how about Zhan and her WAP thing?
Sungasm? Oh, well, no, sorry. They called it a photogasm, which I think is a little on the nose for me.
Bring a bucket and a mop.
I would, right?
Rigel basically says that.
I don't know how I feel about that. I just thought it was kind of comical and funny, but there's this moment that creeped me out. There's this moment where Pilot tells her that the radiation might be too much for Moya's baby, and she has this like weird hedonistic look on her face when he says that, and I'm like, I feel like they're setting up like a Dark Willow thing. I feel like she's gonna turn at some point and do some bad shit, because there's lots of hinting at it. If it doesn't happen, I'm going to be very surprised.
Or she just complicated.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Yeah.
Why you got to make things so complicated?
See the way you're acting. Sorry.
So
none of you guys are in singing when I did Cardi B.
I don't.
Or is it Megan Thee Stallion? Yeah.
I just don't know the song all that well.
I'm also not up on Alanis Morissette. Like I couldn't do anything more than the title. What was I going to say?
We're
talking about photogasms.
Yeah, right. So first of all, that's a writing trope that I hate in fiction, where there's ostensibly supposed to be a language barrier. Like photogasm is a portmanteau of orgasm and photosphere. I guess I'm imagining it's
photons are light, so
sure, something like that, something related to the sun. But creating a portmanteau out of two technical English terms in translator microbe language I hate that. I hate it when shows do that all the time. And every time it happens, I glitch and then I just keep going. But
what would you call it? Just an orgasm?
Sure. Like just call it what it is.
Yeah.
I wonder if how the censors would have reacted to actually just saying.
No, like it's a writing convention. Absolutely, it is, but it's one that I can't stand.
Yeah.
I think photogasm is still very, very close.
But also makes it sound like it's
very close. God damn it, Jack.
It's like a photo finish.
I love you, Josh. Sorry, proceed.
There were a few too many for it to be a finish.
I have. Listen, she's got multiples. She's got multiples, and I'm not going to
edging people. Edging, it's a thing.
On the public shared terrace.
She finished multiple times. I have such a love-hate relationship at this point with Zhan's character. I love the glimpses that we're getting to see, like you talked about, Jack, of like hedonistic Zhan. And I feel like since she had to go full sadist to fight Maldus, she has been swept along by her impulses. She has not had any opportunity to check her impulses very well, I should say. And that's been that I think is the character break or the character turn that episode created. You know, because from my perspective, she was the reason that Pilot's arm got chopped off. Rigel and Dargo would have had the idea, I think, and Zhan would have been like, "We cannot do that," and would have been the conscience of what stopped them. And then here in this episode is the same kind of a deal. She's like, you know, maybe Moya's baby will get microwaved, but at least I'm going to be fantastic.
That's the thing, and there is something very sinister about that to me. Like, and that's what makes me feel like she's gonna have some heel turn or something. I don't know.
So I'm loving that, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, she did go. No, oh yes, the baby move. Yes, move out. You know, she didn't. She didn't lean into the hedonism.
She said that, but to me, the look on her face said the complete opposite to me. That's how I felt.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but what is the test of character? What you want to do or what you actually act on?
Well, and we'll talk about that when we talk a little bit more about the wormhole. But it's those character hints I'm really enjoying. Mm-hmm. I'm still not enjoying her character as a sex object in this show. Like they could have given anybody else a photogasm. They picked the actress who's built like an Amazon. You know, like they could have given Pilot a photogasm.
That would have been Rigel.
Oh my! Oh dear! You know, like the DRBs could have all been walking around their antennas straight up, but they picked.
Okay, no, Pilot. That would have been the best.
Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes.
I mean, there's that, and Virginia Hay apparently had complicated feelings about it.
Sure.
Because there is also that this is the hedonist character, so she's the one who's going to be tempted by pleasure.
Can I just say quickly, I freaking love the line, "Help, a mad Delvian exhibitionist is forcing herself on me." That tickled me so much.
It tickled him too.
How about Erin in this?
I think she was probably my favorite part of the episode. Like her through line throughout was probably my favorite thing getting to watch in this episode. But yeah, her indignation whenever Rorf is like, "Is this your woman?" And she's like, "I'm no one's woman." And then Butch is like, "Nah, she's my woman." She's like, "For fuck's sake." To her, you know, in being the enforcer and fighting off like an entire squad of thieves down in and then also just this continuing thread of like fear of abandonment that John's near miss this episode did not help. I read it as exacerbating that fear, poking at it, picking at the scab. But then her really clever resolution to the conflict in the episode, like she didn't win by beating anybody. She won by changing the rules.
Very Kirk.
Very Kirk.
You notice, I think one of the things you talked about last time was feeling that she was being damseled a bit, or you know and then here it's sort of fake out damsel.
Yeah.
And then she rescues the boys.
I did like that. I was afraid. I was like, oh, for fuck, here we go again. Like again, Erin is. But then, you know, she's the one who's like, when she plugged in the thing. That's the noise.
It's a little broad in the way that it's drawn, but I do like that. It's like it looks like she's about to be damseled.
Yeah,
Dargo is damsel in this one.
but then like she ends up blinded and
by science.
It was and the way she acts like towards Crichton, like, no, I don't need your help, blah 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 blah. Like, I get it. It's in character for her, but it kind of bugged me because I'm like, come on, just it's okay to lean on other people. Like, it's okay, but it's totally in character for her, so I can't complain about it. I also love that we get to see her kicking someone's ass in this episode. I don't feel like we've seen a great deal of it up to this point. We've seen her personality and her acting tough and whatnot, and we hear lots of like backstory, but I don't think we've seen a lot of her actually kicking someone's ass, not like this, which I thought was really, really cool. I like that.
It is also sort of the blinding thing is kind of a bit of it's a bit of a disability trope again, sort of using disabling someone in order to either sort of like using
Humble
it kind
them
of
or
lightly, to humble them, or to, at least they didn't do like, and her other senses grow and which is a dumb trope that is overused. But it's like, we're going to use this blinding thing, which is a serious traumatic thing when it happens to people. And we're just good to kind of, but it got us where we wanted to go, which was sort of showing that Erin can still be a badass in and on, and that she's learning different kinds of badassery. She's learning to be creative. She did ask for someone's help. Furloughs. She paid for it. Well, she got the bill went to Zhan, but and she did it in a clever way. She went, I have an idea. I need somebody to do the actual work. So they're like, there's growth there. It's a little cookie dough, but it's there.
I don't know what you're talking about, Sara. I'm in a wheelchair and I have phenomenal eyesight. Like, it's amazing.
Everything's been heightened.
Yeah, it's all
clearly your sex appeal and beardness have developed to compensate for
all the senses just flowing into me. Oh, I can feel it all. I can see it all. Oh, and on the topic of Furlow, I just want to mention quickly, she was played by Magda Zubanski, a very famous Australian comedian. Wonderful, love her. Pretty much everybody here loves her. She is prolific, like very well loved, and she is amazing. She was perfect for this role. Like, if you see, like, she's good at really silly, zany characters, and that's what this was.
There's a fat woman on screen. It's not a joke. There's a fat woman on screen. It's not a joke. There's a fat woman on screen, and it's not a joke. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it just means like her personality and everything is very silly and over the top, and that's her in a nutshell.
She's funny, but she's not the joke. She's funny. Yeah. She's fat, but it's not the joke. I mean, sorry. Coherent analysis, right?
Her size doesn't even come into it at all.
Yes, which is great. Yes. Okay.
I swear to God, if you edit any of this out, I will thumbs down our own video.
I will steal the raw files and re-edit them. Okay? Do not tempt me.
She's fucking awesome. And it makes me so fucking happy. And this wasn't written for a woman, or this wasn't written with that in mind. She just was awesome, and they gave her the part. I think Magda
Zubanski is awesome. She's just great.
Her just being a woman does change aspects of the way that it plays out, but they just let that happen. They didn't go, there's a fat woman, we have to make fun of her. She's flirty with Crichton, but that's just, part of her charm, because everyone is. And she just exists as a person. I was going to say human being, but she's an alien. But this is representation. This is what it feels like.
Another thing I think you might appreciate is that Magda Zubanski is a lesbian in real life. So
awesome!
Yeah, I thought you'd like that.
There's a queer fat lady on screen. There's a queer fat lady on screen.
I don't think she was out at this time, but still. Yeah.
Oh, fucking awesome. Yeah. And as much as she flirts with Crichton, she kind of flirts a bit with Erin too.
Right?
And wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Sorry, I have no coherent thing to offer that.
No, it's wonderful, and you can bask in it, my love. It's great.
100%, absolutely.
Just this is why we do rep. This is why representation matters.
Absolutely does.
Yep.
Like I watched Come From Away yesterday on Apple TV, and there were fat people on stage, just being people, and I swear I am tearing up right now at the thought of it. It's just they're just nobody was making jokes; they just existed, and.
I want to reach through this screen and hug the shit out of you.
We need a group hug.
It makes me so happy.
Guys. I love you both very much.
I love you, boys.
Your joy is joyful.
Yes.
So yeah, that's I love Furlong. I wish
She's really fun. She's really entertaining and really zany, and just it's such a Magda Zubanski like performance. It really is. I know it's hard to explain it because you haven't seen her other work, but she's known for being really silly, over the top, like funny.
I saw her in something on Netflix before.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to see more, and God damn it, do we need more of this? Like,
absolutely.
You don't have to make it a huge thing. You can just do it. You can just cast someone because they're funny and they're talented. And that's just, you can just cast them.
Yeah.
No fat suit, no nothing, just
no fat suit, like that's the thing.
# no fat suit.
Yeah, I already did a whole video on fat suits. So I need to come up with a transition now.
Do you?
Segue away from my just fucking awesome.
You better not edit any of that shit out.
Yeah,
Sara.
I will.
I'll leave it in. I'll leave it in.
Good.
What, anybody else have any other thoughts on Furlow?
I just love her. She's fun, just really fun and joyful. And my only point of contention again is just that I feel like John gave up the data way too easily. Like I that just bugged me. Like, would he do that? I don't know.
So one of the things that balanced that out for me was how easy it was to replicate the wormhole accident. Like it took them almost no effort to be able to do that. And sure, the wormhole was unstable and all that kind of stuff. And it probably wouldn't have been safe to actually try to traverse it. But when he gave up the data, and he even says it when he gives it up, he goes, I'll just have to get some more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because like that scene where they're in the mini ship thing, I forget what it was called. He's staring at the wormhole and he's like he's fantasizing about going home, which I don't blame him. But in that moment, I was sitting there thinking, dude, like Erin's there. You can't just go through. But like if you go through, you're going to put her in the same position that you're in. But also, you don't know where this thing is going to go. It could spit you out anywhere. Like, what?
Isn't that remarkably similar to someone else's response at learning that what she's enjoying might hurt the baby?
Oh,
and Zhan, yeah.
Oh, temptation. Oh, that's interesting. I like that. Temptation that could, hurt other people. I like that. Ooh.
People who aren't considering other people and and have to be brought back to there's other people here, we have to think about it, just like also with bringing the module onto Moya, the fear of hurting the baby.
And I think there's our theme, really, like temptation and how to deal with temptation that could hurt other people, I guess, or harm other people in some way.
That and toxic masculinity.
Yeah, yeah. Which is just prevalent all the time.
But I mean, and leading into the whole, it has better out than in. When you have that toxicity in you, sometimes you have to get it out to move on. You have to cathart.
The only way out is through. And
that's what John and Dargo did. They had a cathart.
They catharted at each other.
Yes.
The only way out is through, and it's only by acknowledging and accepting. For me, it's only about acknowledging and accepting what I feel and think, however distasteful those feelings or thoughts might be. Am I actually able to move through them and move past them? So yeah, I can get over with that. I think I got hung up on a different kind of imagery in this episode because I also completely missed the Western theme too. Like obviously, Butch and Sundance, obviously. But also, for me that was about as Western as it got. The imagery of the town that they were hanging out at being in a desert was something that I glommed onto. And especially kind of relating it back to Sara, what you were saying about temptation. They were each confronted with like a mirage this episode. The wormhole, but it's unstable. The photogasm, but it's she can't think clearly while she's sprawled out on the floor, and it's actually only and it's actually kind of harmful. And then even Crace's message, like in the form of a digital mirage, and the message that Aaron describes and shows John like is a mirage. He's saying one thing, but it's not real. And so to me, that I hooked onto pretty quick in this episode of what does it mean that they're in a desert? They're all confronted with the illusion of the thing that they all think that they want. And none of it is real, quote unquote real. So that's the other kind of like metaphor thread that's stitched through with me, in addition to the dick off that was happening between Butch and Rorf and John and Dargo. In a lot of storytelling, and I feel like in a lot of like folklore and myth as well, a mirage is exposed as such when one reaches out to grasp it, which is also the link back to the episode title, because the only way for the blood to run clear is to beat the wound, to touch it. And it's real, and you get rid of the thing. And if you reach out and Zhan spends an afternoon of bliss out on the terrace, but when she gets down to the planet, it disables her basically. Like she's like sprawled out, and I like fell out of my couch when she finally strolled into the town, and she was like, "The solar flares have stopped. Believe me, I can attest."
I would be indisposed.
Yeah. That cracked me up. So yeah, that was kind of what I saw. But now I want to go back and honestly rewatch the episode because I feel like I missed a lot.
Because I feel like a lot just went over my freaking head. Like I said in the beginning, I thought this was like a middle of the road episode. Maybe knowing what I know now, my opinion would be different if I watched it again.
Yeah,
I think this is one that benefits from a rewatch, especially when you know some things from later in the series.
Yeah, that's nice to hear, honestly. Like you said that a couple of times, and I like shows that do that. I like shows that you can go back and rewatch and be like, "That's what was happening."
Yeah, there's a lot of episodes and aspects of the early seasons that changed dramatically after certain game changers, and just after when you have a different perspective on relationships after they get built.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because talking about relationships and stuff, and we have time for moonlighting in space. So Aaron and John having their, I'm top. No, I'm top. No, I'm top. Whole sort of thing. Which is not exactly a dick off, but the sort of conversation about when she throws in his face that he is that he was not taking her into consideration in terms of the, when he was just about to fly into the fucking wormhole with her right there, and she calls him on that, and then they have the sort of like who's in charge thing that sort of gets delayed for later when the Worf and his mate show up, and then they have to pretend to have a particular kind of relationship, and John has to be Butch. I mean, the name is not.
It was specific. I think that was the other reason why I skipped over the Western imagery, because I was like, I see what they're doing. Butch.
Yeah.
Butch.
Yes. Surprisingly enough, we do come to Bolivia. We've talked about our characters. We've covered some themes. Do we have anything else on theme?
So there's a. Oh,
sorry, Josh. Go. No, you go. That's okay.
Oh, I was just going to say also there's the theme of temptation as well, which also fits into the desert setting in kind of a biblical sense. There's a couple of instances. One I think with Jesus Christ specifically, that we're going out into the desert and being tempted is a recurring motif as well. And so the temptation and the desert, it all kind of ties together pretty well in my head. And I feel like I don't, and maybe this is main character bias or charming bias or something kind of a bias for me. I don't really think that John's almost flying through the wormhole was terribly egregious. It was thoughtless and insensitive, and he definitely owe Aaron an apology for being thoughtless, but he didn't actually fly through the wormhole.
Right.
Like the other three actually cut off.
That's a very good point.
So like John and Aaron both being able to turn away from their temptations with relative ease, it to me also speaks to their reactions to that action in that episode. And they learned from their friends' mistakes in a way that I really appreciate. I absolutely, like I said, John owed Aaron an apology for being so thoughtless. And it's kind of heartbreaking that Aaron's temptation was kind of the most private of all. Like hers didn't really impact anybody. Hers was just this private, like, this is the thing that I want, and I know that it's not real.
Well, I think didn't Grace say that she has to give the rest of the crew up though? I think.
Yeah.
I think he just said John, didn't he?
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I guess they're on the run from the peacekeepers, though, right?
So they all are, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was really clever of Grace to put out bounties on the other three instead of John and Aaron. Like, that was smart.
Yeah.
Well, as John said, he wants to kill him himself. So, yeah.
One thing I wanted to throw out that's not really about theme, but I just wanted to say that I love the overall set design in this episode.
Yeah, me too.
I think there was a mixture of like probably sound stage, but there was also some shots that had to have been a real location. And I've said before how it's sometimes fourth wall breaking when they're on some alien planet, and I can tell that it's just the bush on the outskirts of Sydney, but they did a really good job of making this feel alien. Like it reminded me of like Tatooine or something like that. It felt like a real alien place, and I really dig that. It was well done.
Apparently it is a place called Stockton Sands in Newcastle.
Newcastle, what? Wow, I thought they went like further out. I thought they went to the middle of nowhere, but that's right near a pretty major city. Wow, okay, interesting.
Yeah, Pete Coogan. Not sure who that is. It doesn't list who he is in this. This is from the fandom wiki, but says that. You look out one way to the Pacific and you look back inland and there's vegetation in the far distance. It was like the Sahara with all the sand dunes.
Yeah, Yeah, like it felt like a real desolate, like middle of nowhere, like desert. But Newcastle is like it's like a million people in Newcastle. It's a well, probably a bit less than a million, but it's a city, you know. But that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, the set scouting people, our location scouters, are very talented on this show. They're very talented and very creative. They're good at finding spots.
I didn't think they were anywhere near civilization. I thought they went out into the desert or something, but nope.
I love the Mad Max feel.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a huge
and then whenever they came into the town, I was expecting John to turn to Aaron and go, "Massa Esley, you never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy in all the galaxy."
Yeah.
No, we got Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and we got Hole in the Wall Gang,
Yeah, I was expecting to see a moisture farm, but no.
We know he loves John Wayne, so I guess that's where his head was at.
Probably,
right.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's definitely a start. Plus, perhaps the location got more Star Warsy than the writers had thought it was going to be.
Yeah, because it was very Star Warsy.
Yeah. It was, I'm going to go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
Like even as we sort of critique the episode as being sort of I like to use the term cookie dough episode. It's like it needs more baking. Kemper again has a quote about how writing for television like this is like laying track as the train is going. So,
and I think it's important also not to give a blank check to something because they're tried. Like clearly Farscape and the writers behind Farscape have some ideas on topics that they want to say things about, and they want to make some points about masculinity, found family, fascism, communism. Like they've got thoughts and ideas, and they're also still fallible human writers who in as much as the show is a product of its time 20 years ago, everybody in the writer's room is a product of their time 40 years ago.
And I think it's kind of interesting to reflect on, given that this is a manly, it's a whole exploration of masculinity in this episode. It's kind of interesting to reflect on, how things about that have changed in the last 20 years.
Well, I'm having a hard time thinking of another show that was on contemporarily that was talking about masculinity like this. Third wave feminism was doing its thing in the entertainment industry at the time, and there's plenty of other opportunities for progressivism. There's certainly other opportunities for things to be progressive, but dismantling or unpacking or deconstructing something that was so deeply ingrained into the culture and still is in many ways. I kudos to this show for doing it,
Yeah, I mean, Jack, you're just like, I didn't like the icky being masculine thingy.
I didn't say it like that.
He said it more manly.
Yeah.
Yes. You were very manly about saying that you didn't like the manliness.
I say is I'm literally wearing makeup.
Yeah, I've got product in my hair.
And it's very pretty, Josh.
You're not wearing half as much makeup as Dargo is.
That's true. That is very true. But I don't see, that's the thing. I don't see makeup as inherently feminine. I'm just joking. It's
not. Painting yourself, your makeup. I mean, he's got tattoos, which
it's been done for thousands of years.
Yeah, you're in the grand traditions of any number of warriors.
Yeah.
Makeup is significantly less permanent.
Yeah. Sure. Probably not going to get a tattoo on my face.
There's nothing inherently gendered about decorating your body.
Yeah.
We make it gendered, and we make it these things are okay for this and this, but that's society being society.
Yeah, but sorry, I cut you off. You were going to say something about icky man or something. Or my response.
That you responded that you just didn't like the getting them cathartic scene.
I just hate that tough guy stuff. It's very. It's the complete opposite of who I am. I've made a point of shedding all that bravado bullshit because I think it's toxic, and I think it's also just boring. Like, it's so boring. Like, I don't care if you want to be the tough guy, whatever, fuck off. I don't care. Go and do your tough guy thing and wave your dick around. Just don't put it in my face. Sure. Like, I don't know. It's just it's just caveman bravado. Like, it just means nothing. It's empty to me, and it means nothing. I don't know. That's just how I feel. I'm getting way too worked up about this. Thanks, Josh.
No, I mean, you're right. I just think for some people to get to the place that you've gotten to, they have to walk through the scene that Zhan and Dargo do.
Oh yeah, it took a lot of I mean, I spent years beating myself up because I felt like I wasn't masculine enough, until I reached the point where I was like, wait, I don't want to be like that. I don't like, yeah. And it's only been in the last couple of years that I've embraced that too. So, yeah, it's definitely a process because I think it's a societal thing. Like, in media and even just in the toys I played with when I was a kid, freaking Action Man and He-Man and all this. So these like big, muscular, burly dudes. And
those are gay.
And then I grew up and realized,
which is also, the butch manliness is also part of gay culture.
Oh, absolutely. I haven't seen him in a couple of years now, but once upon a time, I was very, very close with a gay man who was far more traditionally masculine than I am. Like, he was blokey, like, but he just loved dick. So good for him.
Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. No. Yeah, I just so then, like, I got a bit older and I realized that I wasn't that, and I'm like, wait, why am I not that? What's wrong with me? And it was a tough process, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
relate.
Yeah, we for those who didn't for those listening to the podcast only, my eyebrows were doing fun things when I said there's nothing wrong with that. Not that I know that needs pointing out, but yeah, we're not doing the Seinfeld. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with it.
No, I mean, if you like dicks, if you like vaginas, or both, all the power to you, man. I don't,
or neither.
Go for it. You can just wave them all around, and I don't know
where you like, or if
Please stop me. Help.
Wave them all.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, you do you, boo. Whatever makes you all tingly in the groin. I don't care. Like, it's fine. It really is.
Fantastic.
Or if you prefer a good book, or in fact, The Sun.
Yeah. There we go.
I mean, last week, also, I believe you guys were saying, when is there going to be a sex scene? There's going to be a sex scene at some point. Yes. Yeah. There was a sex scene. It was with the sun.
Yeah,
Zhan got it on with a star.
Zhan got sun.
It's not what I was expecting, but
gives a whole new meaning to heat stroke.
You win. That was I can't outdo it.
I made Josh speechless.
I can't. That cannot be topped. That is probably the best joke I've ever heard in my life.
Oh man. No, okay, so this is dear listener, dear viewer. This is the sex show, apparently.
Welcome to Muppet Sex and Trauma, friends.
We're just doing office jokes and dick jokes and
Sun also gives you vitamin D.
There it is.
It gives you the D.
Jack.
I'm sorry. Except I'm not sorry.
No, not sorry. Not sorry at all.
Oh goddamn it! What's this? What's the song from Priscilla, Queen of the Desert?
I will survive. That's
no, the one about wanting. You can keep your vitamins.
I don't care if the sun don't shine.
shine.
Get my loving in the evening time when I'm with my baby. Yeah. Vitamin dick.
That's taking it too far.
Is it though?
What happened?
There was a pansexual blue lady having a little fun on screen, and we got silly.
Yeah, of course.
Was she having sex with the sun, or was she masturbating with the sun? Tell us in the comments. Was Zhan having sex with the sun, or was Zhan masturbating with the sun?
Yes, I would like to hear your opinions.
No, we're not throwing that to the listeners.
Ah,
no, that's what our podcast is. It's Muppet Sex and Trauma.
It's got to happen at some point. It's got to happen.
I don't want to moderate that conversation.
I will. Don't. That's the thing. Don't.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
Let it go.
Okay, but if we're gonna talk to bring it out of the silliness and back into something relatively sane, if we're gonna talk about the discussion of toxic masculinity, we can't do that in a vacuum. We have to, talk about its effect on more than just men. So,
sure.
We have the stupid strutting men are causing problems for other people. Aaron, can overcome it, but the
female character whose name none of us can remember.
That might be an indication in itself. I mean, I think she's kind of cool because she's got, definitely got a certain amount of control. But the fact that I am having to look her name up right now.
Wait, sorry, who are we talking about?
Worf's lady friend.
Rorg. It's Rolf and Rorg.
Rorg? Rorg is her name?
Yeah, Rorg. Rolf and Rorg.
Rorg, yes.
Yeah, Rorg.
Rorg.
Yeah,
we've just been chewing on our tongues over here. Sorry, don't mind us.
But I had to make a point of writing that in my notes. So
it reminds me of, I think I've referenced this movie before, which that's weird. I didn't think that this movie was that impactful to me. My Big Fat Greek Wedding. There is a line middle of the film where the mother tells the protagonist, the man may be the head of the household, but the woman is the neck. She can turn the man any which way she wants.
That's how power operates in more patriarchal societies.
That's how it has to, because it has to be couched in subversion.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my Egyptian family is in a lot of ways extremely matriarchal. Like it was my grandmother, my nana, who ruled the family with an iron will, and then it was my Aunt Fifi. And now it's a cousin of mine. It is very, very inside the family, very matriarchal. In public, there's a culture of that's paternalistic, and it's kind of a way that's not uncommon in most everywhere in the Mediterranean sort of region. There's sometimes there is, sometimes at home is also patriarchal. But it's a sort of adaptation to power is complicated, It doesn't always play out the same way. It often does, but it doesn't always play out the same way. And so, it's interesting to me that in Rorg, I definitely see a little bit of Nana. Doing that, I am actually in control, but nobody outside our private space is supposed to see that. But
or it's like one of those things where you let the other person think they're in control, but you're really pulling the strings.
Right. That's what I got from Rog and Roar for a little bit. John's kind of flippant. Hey, I don't make the rules. Bothered me. Because yes, you do. And you literally just did. I've gotten into the debate in my professional life before with some of my peers when they say we need to prepare our students for the way the world works. From my perspective, the world doesn't do a damn thing. The world doesn't work any particular way. People make choices. And I'm not really interested in preparing my students to be passive participants in the choice in the effects of other people's choices, And so when John is like, I don't make the rules, like, yeah, you do. You literally just did. Like literally you just made a rule. and then like and I get that that was not the point of the line, but the effect of that kind of an attitude is one of an abdication of responsibility. And it's impossible to separate the responsibility that someone in a position of power has for maintaining that power structure.
I was going to complicate your binary there a little bit. That I think it's not a matter of the way the world works or people make choices, that it is kind of both. We exist in a power structure that operates in a certain way, and we choose how we operate within it. We choose whether we contribute to it and whether we don't. It's, John has been taught that that's the way the world works. And so there's an aspect that's the way culture works, not nature. Always got to make the difference, understand the difference here, because he's choosing to participate in it. So there are choices that are made for him. But he is also making choices in how he responds to that. So I think I'm a gender studies student. You present me with a binary, you ask if it's nature or nurture, and I will go both and neither. No binaries unless you choose them. If you choose a place in a spectrum and you choose one of two options, you've made a choice. But there are in fact there's more than two options.
There's usually a third option,
at least. And so yes, you have a choice. Within a system, you have a choice. And so, Jack,
I'm trying so hard to hold it in, you guys. I'm trying.
And I am baiting you so hard.
Don't hold it in.
You don't have a good choice, but you have a choice.
There it is.
Exactly.
There it is.
This is the culture dictates what choices you have. You dictate which choices you make, and from those.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so, you have power. You choose how to use it. And you can choose to be like, why are there only so few choices? I'm going to make sure the people who come after me have more choices, which is what Josh does. It has a cumulative,
exponential, compounding, other mathematical terms effect. I agree to disagree, I suppose, because I don't see a system as being something that is separate from the choices that are made to perpetuate it or prop it up. Or not change it at the very least. So I don't think the world works any particular way.
I'm not saying it's separate so much as there are your choices but they're in the context of all the other choices. And many of those choices have lasting effects. This is why I'm saying there's a difference between culture and nature.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Culture is culture is the way we,
Yeah, John's allegory of his Dobermans also rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, that's not how we talk about sentient species.
Exactly. Like, it was really reductive of Rorf and Rorg, who granted were jerks, but sentient jerks.
This is where you come back to the criticism that I had at the beginning of the thing, which is, let's not reduce things to animalistic. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Because
the podcast people are going to love me making noises to express my point.
I mean, whatever. But also, the episode does reject his Doberman analogy by the end, because that's how he and Dargo are able to come to a détente. But I still didn't like it.
Yes, and as much as he's going, this is the way the world works on the text, that's happening while Erin is virtually audibly rolling her eyes.
Yeah, and yeah, I really hate the idea that the way the world works is set in stone. Like this is the way it has to be done. The world has evolved so many freaking times. We are constantly dismantling constructs and reestablishing things. Like, yeah, the world is not set in stone. Anything can change.
You can also break stone.
Yes, exactly.
It's not easy, but you can break stone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a really deep point.
It's not set in diamond.
You can still break diamond.
I mean, with another diamond, I think.
Go on.
With time and patience.
Now we're getting into Dark Knight territory. This is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object.
What's indestructible?
We've wandered significantly away from this desert village of this episode.
I knew from the beginning this was going to be a shit show, and it has been.
Yeah, I think hopefully it's an interesting shit show, because
I've had fun. That's all I care about.
Exactly.
When the episode is masculinity, what do you think? We're gonna go, so we have thoughts on masculinity.
Yeah.
Right. That's what we're here for.
And I think the writers are inviting us to have thoughts on masculinity. And even if they weren't, we're still having them. So yeah, we will keep a watch on Zhan and Dargo's relationship to masculinity.
Yeah. And I'm probably going to cringe a hell of a lot more.
I don't know what we'll call that, because I'm calling Erin and Zhan currently moonlighting in space. What should we call Zhan and Dargo's?
Dick waving in space.
We'll call it lethal weapon.
Lethal weapon. Okay.
That's great. That's really good.
As long as I don't have to watch a Mel Gibson movie.
You still got an American and an Aussie, so we got that going for us too.
That's really clever, Josh. That's really clever. I'm impressed.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, so we have had quite a meandering road, but does anybody have anything else to contribute?
No. So shall we do favorite parts then?
Yeah.
My favorite part is Rigel help a mad Delvian exhibitionist who's forcing herself on me. I giggled and giggled and giggled and giggled. That whole scene is hilarious to me, and I loved it.
My favorite part was Erin kicking the crap out of those dudes in the garage. That was a really good, really well choreographed also. Just a really fun fist fight. I'm a sucker for fist fights in sci-fi settings.
My favorite part, say it with me, there's a fat woman!
That was the most obvious favorite part.
Yeah, no, it was no question.
There was no question. We could have said it for you.
Yeah, I don't need to see that all over again, but yes. That is, unsurprisingly, my favorite thing.
Bask in it, embrace it, and enjoy it. It's
Absolutely.
Representation matters.
It does.
Absolutely does, yeah.
So, if people want to hear more of our thoughts on stuff, we have a Discord you can reach all of us at, and the link to which will be in the doobly-doo.
The doobly-doo.
And we have a Twitter,
We do.
which is Muppet Saxon T1.
Down in the doobly-doo.
Yeah. And individually, where can people find you, my darling Jack?
You can find me on Twitter at lackofsurprise1. That's all one word with the number 1 at the end. You can find me, as Sara said, on our Discord. Also have an Instagram. That's at Jack Kramme. Where else? That's right. You can also check me out on a podcast I do with my friend Ian Martin from Pastor of the Nerd. That's called Podcast of the Nerds. And you can check out my work with Chipperish Media on the Still Pretty and Endless podcast. Josh, my friend, where can people find you?
Wherever there's injustice in the world, I'll be there.
I love this man, ladies and gentlemen.
Wherever there's I don't have all of Steinbeck's monologue memorized, but no, I'm just hanging out over on Instagram, honestly. Like at Josh Gosdin, come on over. Let's talk about food and self-care. It's really all I've got going on over there. It brings me joy.
Cool.
So I have a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you do. Why don't you tell us about that, Sara?
Why don't you tell us about that, Sara? With the same energy you brought to us.
Oh gosh. It's called the Costume Codex. Usually I make videos about costumes and meaning and stuff, and why I love a piece of media. And then sometimes I make rambling things about stuff to do with fat activism and accidentally land myself with 3 times the followers in a week.
Yeah.
So go follow the Costume Codex.
Yeah.
She increased her following 3-fold in a week.
Yeah, about 10 days. But yeah.
Well,
It was an
actually, it was
interesting
less than a week.
experience.
You doubled it in less than a week. That was like 6 days, and you were doubled.
Mm-hmm.
I was keeping an eye on that.
That's the
Yeah, but my analytics kind of went.
It was well deserved.
For sure.
It was an interesting experience. Yeah. So
yeah,
that happened.
Definitely go and check out the Costume Codex.
Absolutely, go check out the Costume Codex.
And yeah. And you can join us here in 2 weeks to talk about the episode The Flax.
Ooh.
Which
Wait,
should
did you
give
say
us some-
the flask?
The Flax.
Like
Oh,
flax seeds?
because I thought you said a flask, and I imagine Adam Sandler going, "Get in the flask."
No, The Flax,
Okay,
which will be followed by an episode called Rhapsody in Blue.
Oh, okay. I see a little silhouette of a man.
Josh, you look like you have Muppet eyes.
I do. I love Gershwin, and B, if that's what I think it is, I'm delighted.
I think that's the. Let me just double check that it's not Jeremiah Crichton.
I'm just delighted to be with you guys. It's nice to be here.
It is. It's nice to be here and talk about the scape that is far.
Yes, I was correct. It's Rhapsody in Blue. The one after that will be Jeremiah Crichton.
Cool.
So-
Jeremiah Crichton. Okay.
He's a bullfrog.
Indeed. And he rather likes his wine.
Oh. I don't know why I went and raised my eyebrows. That was weird.
Because
I got to see more of your eyeshadow. It was nice.
Pretty. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting good at that.
Thanks.
So, with that, we will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, and have a good, couple weeks.
Enjoy your heat stroke and sungasms.
Oh,
Bye, friends.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, friends.
The term heat stroke is forever changed for me. I'm gonna think of this for the rest of my life whenever I hear that. Hey, Jack,
it's gonna be fun.
You're right. You're a little red. Have you got heat stroke?
Oh dear.
I don't know what's going on now.
It's supposed to be really sunny here in Texas tomorrow, so
Josh just rips off his shirt and runs outside. He's gonna get some heat stroke.
oh man.